Welcome to the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, where it is never too early for fantasy football. My name is Jeff.
I'm Alex.
As always, thank you for downloading, listening, liking, and commenting on our podcast videos. Please join our community by subscribing to us on the socials. Our handle on all platforms is at N2E Fantasy. We are also available on all major podcasting apps by searching N2E Fantasy. Alex, what do we have on today's show?
On this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast, we are revealing our first and second rounds for redraft leagues. So very, very early top 24, and that's pre-free agency, pre-draft, and we will update as we go. But first, Jeff, we have some coaching news. What do we have?
So we have the Raiders hiring the Seahawks quarterback coach to be their new offensive coordinator. And this is not surprising considering Clint Kubiak came from the Raiders and that he will be calling the plays for this, but they did hire Andrew Jenks. So I don't know if he's going to be a big name to go around or if he's going to not get the praise because Kubiak is going to be calling the plays. What's your thought there?
Well, he did make Sam Darnold the man he is today, a Super Bowl quarterback. So I think he's a young guy and he's going to help this team, and he might end up at some point making a name for himself, and maybe Kubiak will eventually turn plays over to him after they get settled in. Who knows? But he needed to hire someone, and the Seahawks and some of the NFC West guys were still available to be plucked.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of, the Seahawks did replace Clint Kubiak with the 49ers tight end coach / passing game coordinator Brian Flores to be their new offensive coordinator. And this is a name that I had not heard of previously. So is this a big name on the radar?
I really didn't know much about him before this, but apparently he's had a number of different jobs. He's been a defensive backs coach. He's been a defensive quality control coach. He's coached a number of different positions. And so most recently tight ends coach with Kittle and Tongs. But yeah, they decided not to promote from within, and they pulled from the 49ers tree.
Should that help Sam Darnold, do you think?
I have no idea.
Probably helps him to use his tight ends.
Yeah, maybe it'll help Arroyo.
Well, definitely can't hurt Barner either. All right. So we had the Patriots move on from defensive coordinator Terrell Williams. They moved him into a high-ranking role within the organization, but he had already missed the 2025 season with the illness, and Zach Kluwer filled in for him and is the favorite for the job in 2026, and they actually ended up hiring him. So he is their permanent defensive coordinator as well.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know much about him, so I
Well,
don't know.
he did good this year.
Well, it also doesn't really matter that much because Vrabel's there, and he's a defensive-minded guy who's been a coordinator before.
Agree there. All right, and then we have the Cardinals going through that extensive defensive coordinator search, and they ended up with the guy that was already there, Nick Rallis. And how do you feel about them ending up with the guy that was already there?
Well, the team struggled on defense a little bit last year, but a lot of it was due to injury. So I don't really know if I can hold it against them. And it's not like they had much of a run game to go off of to eat up the clock or kind of slow things down as well. So with it being a late hire, I don't think that they could have done much better. Might as well keep him another year, and it's not as bad if they have to release him after this next year. But he has a chance to prove himself.
Absolutely. This is like the fairy tale of Cinderella. Like, you're just looking for the person that fits the glass slipper, and they were right underneath the building the entire time.
I wouldn't exactly go with that, but sure, Jeff. I mean, you could say the same thing with Bobby Slowick being promoted to OC with the Dolphins.
That is fair. That is fair. But a couple of surprise moves coming up here. The Raiders promote defensive line coach Rob Leonard to defensive coordinator, which another guy in-house that they promoted. But I don't think the Raiders defense was that good last year. And if someone is going to come at me and say their offensive line was good, I'm going to credit Max Crosby for that, not the defensive line coach. So this is why this was more of a puzzling hire for me.
Well, I mean, on the other hand, that's the only part of their defense that did play well. If you're going to promote from within, that's probably one of the only options. He was also the run game coordinator as well. So they promoted him, and I think they also promoted the status of their pass game coordinator to make him happy for being passed over for DC. But
Okay.
if they're already under contract, again, if they have to fire them after a year, it won't be as bad because, I mean, they were going to pay for him anyway. But a lot of rumors were that Jim Schwartz wanted to go to the Raiders. The Browns aren't going to let him go. He has no recourse to leave. So he's probably going to force his way next off season is my guess.
I mean, it is kind of interesting that you just brought up the Browns. Kind of a surprise here that they hired Mike Ruttenberg from the Falcons as their new DC. And what if Jim Schwartz pulled a George Costanza and showed up to work for a job that's no longer available? Like, what would happen in that scenario now?
Is I think all the jobs are filled. So there's nothing for him to go to.
Right.
So he might as well wait until next off season. But I think he's going to pull it.
Yeah, he's just got to get into the free and clear. And obviously, the sooner the better for him, because this is something that will linger and keep tolling over until he actually gets released from his deal. Because you can't just walk away from a deal and expect it to expire still.
Yeah, I think the Raiders and maybe the Eagles. Maybe he wants to be the Eagles head coach next year.
He has a decent shot. I'm
I
not a
mean,
big Sirianni fan. You're not a.
he'd be a better head coach for the Eagles than Nick Sirianni.
I think most anyone would be at this point, but I definitely hear what you're saying there. But why did the Browns hire from outside when the biggest feature that they had and the biggest thing that they had going for them was their defense? And how would you feel if you were passed over being a leftover Jim Schwartz guy?
I mean, I would understand, to be honest with you. Like, I wouldn't have made it that big of a deal. I think he got a little too full of himself and a little too prideful. It's like, it's easy to have a really good defense when Myles Garrett is on that defense.
Well, I was just thinking that I really hope they gave Myles Garrett a lot of say in this and kept him happy because I know he wasn't happy going into last off season. Just something I hope they kept.
He has 40 million reasons to stay happy with that team.
40 million a year?
Yep.
Hey, that's all that matters sometimes. All right. So speaking of some surprises, we have some quarterback news. The Saints retired quarterback Derek Carr says he will only return if he's 100% healthy, which he says that he probably is, and has a shot at a Super Bowl. Do you see an opening that could offer Derek Carr a gig?
I think Derek Carr is completely delusional. There's not a Super Bowl caliber team that needs a quarterback upgrade that would consider Derek Carr, especially after all the hospital passes he threw with the Saints. I think the only teams that would be interested in him are the bottom of the league teams. And the Jets hired Reich, who wanted to bring him over to the Panthers before they traded up for Bryce. They hired Musgrave, who was his quarterback coach. He's apparently had talks with Glenn. So he is actually considering the Jets, even though he said the Super Bowl comment. He is legitimately considering playing for the Jets, from what I heard. I don't think it'll go well for either one of them. I feel like it would be another Aaron Rodgers situation, but with a worse record.
It could be. It could be.
But he'll make
But
money.
yeah, coincidentally, another Saints retired quarterback and Hall of Famer now, Drew Brees, admitted that he was close to coming out of retirement this past season. Could it have been with the Broncos when Bo Nix went down with his ankle injury?
Well, I listened to the actual video and he said, mentally, I was like, all right, I think I'm gonna have to come and play. I was starting to feel good, and then I went outside to toss the ball with my son, and I just don't have it. I don't have it. So I don't think he was close. But I do think Sean Payton reached out to him to see if he would be able to play, and that was the only team I could possibly imagine him playing a spot shot for. So winning a second Super Bowl would cement him as one of the best quarterbacks of the last 20, 30 years. But he doesn't have
Look
it.
at
His
what all
shoulder's
this.
completely.
Yeah, it's shot, and look what this Philip Rivers nonsense brought about.
Yeah. Mm.
I do think this might be a pseudo thing going forward. Like, is there going to be a spot where a quarterback gets injured and you get whatever was retired 4 or 5 years ago that you think is Andrew Luck return in another 2 or 3 seasons?
Andrew Luck's not coming back. People need to stop. People need to stop. He's not coming back. He's very clear about that. He has no interest in playing again.
Yeah, I
But
was
you got to
saying that
remember,
tongue in cheek.
Vinny Testaverde played until he was like 45, I think. He was the OG at staying in the game before anyone else was.
But yeah, like if I would have told you before the season that Philip Rivers was going to lead a team to a playoff push, you would have been like, "What?"
It made no sense, man. They were completely desperate.
It was an amazing story though. And that's kind of what we live for at the end of the day is that story that we can grip onto and talk to and bond over. Philip Rivers, Grandpa Rivers gave us that. He's got like a whole new tone on Old Man Rivers there.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna move on from Anthony Richardson this offseason, I would imagine. The Cardinals are gonna move on from Murray. The Dolphins will try to move on from Tua. I know you're convinced they're gonna post June cut him. I don't know if they're gonna take on that cap since they already have $100 million close to in dead cap already, and to add on to that another 67 million is insane to me. The Jets are likely to cut Fields. I'm trying to think. The Raiders are likely to move on from Geno Smith. Who else? Jeff? Who else is likely to be cut or traded?
I don't really see a ton other. I know you think Mac Jones is going to be traded, but as far as their last year's starting quarterbacks, man, good question. Could Deshaun Watson be cut now that there's a new regime?
No, they're in probably the most desperate cap shape of the bottom dwellers, and there even talks about they might have to give him a 1 year extension to smooth things out or readjust his void years to lower the cap so they can actually sign a roster because their entire offensive line's wiped out and they're over the cap. So we'll see. But they're in a bad shape, so I can't imagine them cutting him because he would have a huge cap hit still. I
Yeah,
think it's $80 million or something like that. And there's no way that they can get out of that if they cut him.
yeah. The only question I have for Watson is what motivation does he have to help the Browns out of this situation? And to him being an NFL quarterback, and I'm not saying that he can play, so don't take that from this at all. Him in his mind wasting another year of his playing career sitting on a bench. So I don't think he can play, but I'm assuming that he thinks he can still play.
Man, am I glad the Texans fleeced the Browns on that one.
Yeah, I was mad when the Panthers didn't get him. So I mean, I understand all this, but it was almost the Falcons getting him. There was quite a few teams in on his services, so that was what really drove up the cost for the Texans.
I don't feel bad. We're the ones that traded up to. We traded with the Browns to move up to select him in the first place. We also gave the Browns a second round pick to take Osweiler off of our hands. So I would imagine that they've been compensated enough. Fans might not like it, but you guys got enough from the Texans. The Texans earned all of that back. But speaking of the compensation, to trade Tua, I think the Dolphins would have to offer a second round pick, and I can't see the Dolphins wanting to do that.
We'll see. It would jumpstart their rebuild if they did it, but we will see.
Well, while simultaneously hurting it because they lose a second round pick.
Right, but it hurts having a guy that you don't want on your roster.
Well, they have to decide between draft picks and cap space, and I think that they're gonna keep the draft pick and keep him on the roster another year because no one wants Tua on their team unless he is completely free and he's veteran minimum.
Yeah, I don't know about nobody wanting him. I mean, obviously a team was willing to pay him what, 40-50 million dollars a year, so just a few years
$53
ago.
million dollars. $53 million a year. The second dumbest contract I've ever seen besides Deshaun Watson's.
I mean, someone
I
wants
called
him
it
though.
I called it dumb at the time, and it looks even more dumb now.
Well, it's because you're just smart, dude, and you have all the answers.
I don't have all the answers, but sometimes it's glaringly obvious.
We call you the Oracle behind the scenes.
Is that in the special group chat where, where you and other people just bash me? Okay.
Yeah,
Alright.
with me and the producers.
Hmm.
All right. So, speaking of the Dolphins, the cuts have began, and the first one hasn't officially taken place yet because they're going to designate it a post June 1st cut, and that is Bradley Chubb is being cut by the Dolphins. And I know we don't normally talk defense, but this was a pretty big cut, and he should be able to help a team in 2026, and he'll be free and clear to do so in a few weeks. Where do you see someone like Chubb going?
He's not as effective as he once was, but there's a number of teams that could use an edge rusher. And unfortunately for him, this is a pretty good edge free agency and draft class. So it's going to depress his value.
He's made his money though. I could see him doing like a rotational thing with like the Eagles or something like that. They're very big on a rotational edge, and there's a ton of teams that need help on the edge right now. So
Well, I think Seattle has a bunch of money, and one or two of their edge rushers are in free agency as well, and probably will command more money than Bradley Chubb. So I can see him being a cheap option for Seattle to fill the void if one of those guys or both of them leave.
absolutely. Unfortunately, a team like the Bills have tried this countless times with Bosa and Von Miller and stuff like that. So I don't see a team like Buffalo go into that well again. So there's going to be teams like that that have been burned in the past by that veteran defensive player that will not take the risk this time around.
The Titans need an edge rusher, and the Raiders could use a second edge rusher. I mean, those are two teams with two of the most amount of cap space that also have needs.
Absolutely, absolutely, and that wasn't the only cut by the Dolphins. The Dolphins also cut wide receivers Nick Westbrook Ikine and superstar wide receiver Tyreek Hill.
I love how you said superstar, former superstar, in my opinion.
Once a superstar, always a superstar. Since we did free agent class last week and where someone would go, let's do Tyreek Hill prediction this week. Where can you see him going? And then I'll reveal my ideal spot for him.
I think the most logical one that everyone's already connecting is back to Kansas City. The other option is the Chargers with McDaniel. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, I could easily see the Chargers. Chiefs, I feel like is an easy line, and I don't like to take the easy lines over on something like that. For me, I would love to see him in the Kyle Shanahan system with Brock Purdy. And Brock Purdy just happens to need receivers with Ayuk and Jennings appearing to be on the way out the door. Pearsall is off injured, some his fault, some not his fault, and they just need something that's more proven at this point. So They could bring back a Debo too. So I mean that's always possible as well.
I I don't think so.
I don't know. They with Ayuk, he survived multiple doghouse stints with Shanahan, and they still rewarded him with a contract that kind of blew up in their face. But
I think one, the 49ers will probably re-sign Jennings, and two, I think they're going to draft one of the Indiana wide receivers. Whether that's Sarrett or whether that's Cooper, I don't really know, but I feel like those guys would fit in that system pretty well. So, no, I don't think they're going to do any big free agent signings.
we will see. Jennings is very upset with the Niners, so we'll see if that bridge gets unburnt before that happens. Because remember, he wanted to be paid last year, and they said no, and he put up very good wide receiver numbers. So
No, they did
remember,
pay him. They bumped up his salary.
yeah, that wasn't nearly enough, and he held out with all those freak injuries.
Yeah, he's not a wide receiver one. I don't even think he's a wide receiver two. I think he's a wide receiver three. And if he thinks he's going to get more on the open market, be my guest.
So did they bump him? Because Spotrac doesn't have his bump. If they did, the
They,
last
they,
contract.
they absolutely gave him a pay increase as a 1 year peace offering.
Okay, because the last deal I see is a 2-year, $11 million deal, and it looks like he might have gotten $13 million last year. But he overperformed that last year in stats, at least. So wouldn't you think that he would be due a pretty sizable raise, or someone will pay him?
They gave him a $3 million play time incentive. That's what they added. Because
Yeah, he finished.
he was set to make 7.5 million. They gave him 3 more million. So he got 10.5 million.
And in 15 games last year, he finished wide receiver 30. So he missed
Okay.
2 games and still finished wide receiver 30.
Brandon Ayuk didn't play all season. Pearsall got hurt. Kittle got hurt. So I feel like he only got stats because everyone else wasn't there.
And that's fair. I'm just pointing out the stats because I believe someone will pay for those stats on their team.
Okay.
So I could see Washington doing that because I think he would work very well with Terry McLaurin.
I mean, how are they going to hire and sign every single former 49ers wide receiver? Because I'm pretty convinced that they're going to get Ayuk. I don't
If he
think that
wants to
they'd
still
want,
play, he's
I
not
don't think that
answering
they'll,
any questions.
oh,
He's not even picking up the phone for reporters right now.
well, I wouldn't pick up the phone for reporters either. He has to officially get waived, and then his agent will pick up the phone for the Commanders. I'm pretty sure that's the team he wants to go to.
Okay. That's a pretty narrow straight line to a team.
Yeah,
I wouldn't want to pay for Dan
that's
Quinn.
not the smartest business decision, but he's not being rational, so
We will see. We will see. We're a couple weeks away, but the 49ers don't really have a deadline to cut Ayuk, and I realized that through research tonight, so they could hold him through June 1st, July 1st, and whenever they cut him, there's no guaranteed left, so they don't get punished for it. There's nothing that is making them cut him. What?
he's an idiot. He really is.
I do think he has a grievance with the 49ers to get some of that guaranteed money restored, but he hasn't even made an appearance for that yet. His agent hasn't even filed that stuff yet. So
Because it would get thrown out.
they take that pretty seriously, and the 49ers would have to present a plethora of evidence in order to do that because obviously guaranteed money is guaranteed. So
Yeah, no. If you stopped communicating with your team, they can void your contract. You're required to keep up with them. You're required to take treatment in-house, not outside.
and I understand that. And he was, and then all of a sudden one day he wasn't. What happened between the days and the months that he was doing that and when he stopped? Was there an incident? Was there something that we don't know? We don't know. So it's all speculation at this point. But hopefully he comes back to the league at some point, or maybe he's just done with the league. So It's just weird to do all that treatment and then one day in September stop coming into the office. So it's just, we always thought he was going to be activated last season. I know we all had him on fantasy teams and such, but never happened. Never happened. All right. So let's take a look here at what's next. And we will see where Tyreek and Brandon Ayuk end up. And the only offensive coordinator that's open is the Rams, and that's the only coordinator that's opened. Do you think that is Cliff Kingsbury because they haven't defined his role yet, or do you think it's going to be some sort of internal promotion that didn't go to the Browns or the Cardinals when they were interviewing him?
I don't know. I mean, McVay's the one who calls the plays regardless. They might just leave it open for now.
Could be Cliff. He's got no title, but he's hired by the Rams. So to me, that is a glaring omission, and I don't think I've ever seen someone hired without a job title.
Yeah, they have to give him a job title. He is kind of a coaching reclamation project there, though. Well, he's going to give him some different wrinkles and takes, but a lot of what he's doing there is also to learn to be a better coach himself. Because everywhere he goes, he has a great first year, and then it like starts to collapse year 2 or year 3.
I think this is a great career move, though. I'm sure you would agree with that.
Yes, I agree.
And if he can make a career out of it after this, then it's all for the best. All right, Alex, let's shift gears to the 2026 redraft leagues. And we will start with our second round. Does that sound good?
Yep, starting at the bottom at 24.
All right, you want to reveal yours? Do the even ones and I'll do the odd ones first.
Yeah. This one can change as we find out destinations and what happens. But right now I have Brees Hall at 24. Don't know if the Jets are going to tag him. Don't know if the Jets are going to try to keep him. Don't know if he's going to hold out. Don't know if he goes to a better spot. But the talent's there. I still like Brees Hall. And if he goes somewhere good, I think he will rise up the board.
So, if the Jets do keep him, though, do you see him going down your board, or is this his floor for you?
If the Jets keep him, I can see him sliding down my board, especially if he holds out too.
He's currently my first player, so he will not be appearing on this countdown for me. Pretty close, but same range, but different ranks. My 24th player is Chris Olave. I really like the chemistry and the timing that he's developed with Tyler Shuck, and I look forward to see where that goes in year 2, and we'll see if he gets that contract extension this offseason as well.
He just missed my list. He's 25.
Oh, right.
So we're right at the same spot basically.
Here's a guy that I know will miss your list, and he is a very volatile guy because he could be going up and down my list all off season based on the news, but it is KC wide receiver Rashee Rice.
Yeah, I currently have him my 39th player. I have no interest in drafting him in any league.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair. Who is your 23rd player?
My 23rd player is Bucky Irving. I think he'll be healthy this year, and Rachaad White will be gone. He is not returning to Tampa. So he's finally going to get receiving work, which has been denied him because of Rachaad White. And I think that they bring back Sean Tucker to be the number 2. So there'll be a nice 1-2 combo. I wouldn't put it past them to draft somebody mid to late to be the third back behind those two. But yeah. Bucky should be back to his workhorse self, just about.
Yeah, your buddy Tucker there. I see you had to throw a little shout out for him.
The guy who, if he gets like double-digit carries or 16+ carries, puts up 40 fantasy points, yeah, that guy.
That's your guy. I know. What I will say is Bucky is actually down for me right now, and he is my 33rd player, so he'd be a 3rd round pick for me right now, but I can understand where the value is because this is kind of where we had him last year as well, so Last year, he was looked at as looks like the 20th player. He just fell a little bit for me with his injury history. Something really weird happened with him last year too, with that shoulder injury, just based on it popped up out of nowhere. He just came to practice one day and was like, "Oh, my shoulder's hurt," and then he missed like 7 games.
They had a number of injury issues last year, as well as a turbulent time with the new OC, and that OC didn't make it. So I think that will get resolved.
Absolutely, and that was your 23, right?
Yep, my 22 is Chase Brown.
Okay, all right. Chase Brown for me falls at 34. He's also a third round pick. We have some interesting differences, but we'll hop right into my 22 here in Josh Jacobs. So he's going to fall down a little bit for me, but he should still be the bell cow for the Packers this upcoming season.
He's my number 27 player.
Okay. So we're pretty close, but you're hedging him a little bit more than I am as he's getting to the later stages of his career. And number 21 for me is Omarion Hampton for the Chargers. He did show me enough this year to move up my boards this time. Thoughts
Number
there?
21 for me is rookie Jeremiah Love.
My God, you always put rookies so high.
It's number 21, Jeff. That's lower than I had Genty last year.
Well, we'll love go in the top 10 of picks because that was our Genty pick last year as far as the actual NFL draft, not.
I don't know. Everyone's trying to earmark him to the Saints, and that doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, he's almost as talented as Genty. He's not the same kind of runner. Some people say he's better. I don't think he's better than Genty, but he is a first round running back, and he probably goes in the upper half. I mean, I could see him slide a little bit, but this draft is not good with running backs.
Yeah, when I do add the rookies here, he would be my 35th player right now. So be a third round pick for me. So I feel like that's a little bit higher than I had Genty last year, but still hedging my bets on the rookie. All right. So that was your
21.
21st. Who's your 20th?
My 20th is Saquon Barkley.
Very low on Saquon. What's going on?
I mean, he had a very inefficient year, and I'm not sure the Eagles fixed their offensive coordinator issue.
Hopefully they do.
Their best tackle is going to probably retire, and they already had problems with their O-line last year, so it's kind of hard for me to be super excited, even though I really like Saquon as a player.
Absolutely. Definitely hear that. I have him lower than last year because he was like a top 3 player for most going into redrafts, but we'll get to him in a little bit. My number 20th player is Davante Adams, and I feel like he was just a touchdown scoring machine, and that's going to score you fantasy points every single day. Thoughts on Adams this high? You think it's too high, or you think it's time for him to be faded?
What a great question. He's not on my list. I'll just say that.
Okay. A little bit of intrigue there. Is he not on your list because of accidental omission or intentionally not on your list?
He's number 37.
Okay. I thought you meant he was just not on your list at all.
Ah. Well, I was like scrolling through and I was like, where is he? Where is he? And I had to type in his name to find him.
That's a
I just
pretty
scrolled past
big
him.
that's a pretty big drop for a guy that finished wide receiver 8 this year, so pretty big
Yeah,
drop.
but it was very touchdown dependent. That's very hard to repeat. Especially they were all like one yard catches, and that's atypical of how offenses work. They had an extremely high number of red zone touchdown passes compared to just handing the ball off to their two pretty solid running backs in the goal line. So I don't think that
Yeah.
that's likely to repeat. If you take a few touchdowns off, he's not a top guy.
For me, that felt intentional that they were trying to feed him touchdowns. I think that they were trying for the NFL record by a receiver, and he ended up getting hurt with his hamstring. So it obviously did not work out, but that was That's what I was thinking was going on. All right. So number 19, I think, is me. And that's where I got Justin Jefferson right now. So he's slipped quite a bit and he could jump back up with the right quarterback, but right quarterback's not there right now. So Justin Jefferson.
This is where I have Amari and Hampton. I think that he's the clear number one back. He has McDaniel now as his offensive coordinator, who was really good with running backs with the Dolphins. So I think he's going to be really good this year for fantasy.
Absolutely. Who's your number 19?
Amari and Hampton.
Okay.
And
So
then my number 18 is McDaniel's former running back, Devon Achane. I think they'll have regression. They're not going to be a good team, most likely.
gotcha.
I mean, Slowick was kind of rough as a offensive play caller when it came to the run game, so I don't know if the run game is still going to be good, especially if your quarterback play isn't very good. So I see some regression there. I mean, it's not inconceivable that they trade HN, so maybe he'll go back up. But I kind of see some
Yeah.
regression for him.
Yeah, obviously his best spot is with Mike McDaniel, but that is Hampton, which we just mentioned, which you have 2 spots ahead of me. And I do think that there's a chance that not a ton could change because Slowick was there last year, and I wonder if he understands how to use HN and the value of him. So that's the one silver lining, is that he's a holdover from last year, knows how to use him, sees how to use him most effectively. We'll see if he learned anything from Mike McDaniel in his 1 year in Miami.
Who is your number 18?
Number 18 for me is Drake London. Anything on that one?
I have him a little bit higher.
Okay. And then number 17 for me is Nico Collins. I don't love his usage rate and I don't love his injury history. So those are a couple strikes against Nico, but he's still up there for me.
Well, that's interesting because my number 17 is Nico Collins. So we are exactly on point with this one.
Brainwaves. And then your number 16?
My number 16 is Justin Jefferson. I'm a little bit higher on him than you. I think they do change quarterbacks, and no matter who it is, I think it's better.
It could always be worse. You could get Kirk game manager Cousins now.
Whether it's Kirk, whether it's Mac Jones, whether it's Carson Wentz with the bionic arm, whether it's Geno Smith, it's going to be better than JJ.
But if it's Mac Jones, Kendrick Bourne is following him, and it's going to be frustrating to Justin Jefferson owners.
No. I mean, I could see Kendrick Bourne following him, but if Justin Jefferson's there, he's going to be targeting Justin Jefferson. You know who will suffer if he's, not suspended or injured is Addison will suffer.
Absolutely. So that was your number 16, right?
Yep.
My number 16 was Malik Neighbors. Just not ready to put him up into the upper echelon just yet after a couple injury-riddled years and some subpar quarterback play. He has not really had a chance to develop chemistry with Jackson Dart, so it's kind of an unknown for 2026. Thoughts there before I hop to the next one?
I am a little bit off from you, but pretty close.
Okay. And then my number 15 is Ashton Genty. So he is what?
You're gonna hate my. You're gonna hate where I have Genty.
Top 3. You got to double down on last year. He's got to show it to me first. So you got to earn your way into the top 3 or the top half of the first round. All right, who's your 15?
My 15 is Trey McBride.
Okay. I don't have any tight ends in my top 24.
I think no matter who the quarterback is, he's the number one option there, and he's going to get fed. And I still see them being a team that is going to be playing from behind a lot, so they'll need to pass the ball. And LaFleur is coming from a system that utilizes 2 and 3 tight end sets a lot, so I can see that being pretty crucial for them, especially if they trade either Michael Wilson or Marvin Harrison Jr. They'd be focusing on McBride even more.
Yeah, McBride's my second tight end, and I have him 26. So I have Bowers and McBride going in the first 2 picks of the third round.
I have Malik Neighbors at 14. I'm not thrilled about the offensive coordinators, but at the same time, I think Malik Neighbors is an exceptional talent. If he's healthy, he's going to be Dart's #1 option by a mile right now. I don't think that there's really that much else to throw to besides him. So he's bona fide wide receiver 1.
Absolutely, until they bring back Wandale Robinson, who he pushed over 1,000 yards. All right, so
Yeah.
that was your 14.
Yep.
My 14 is Kyron Williams. He's still doing enough to remain into a second round pick conversation for me. But Blake Corum is taking just enough from him that it makes me a little bit more cautious to put him in the first round now. So,
Yeah, I have
what's
Kyron
your.
Williams at 36.
Oh, that's a big fall.
Yeah, I think Blake Corum eats in a lot.
Okay. He finished RB9 and they paid him last season, so I don't see a reason for that, but
Well, if you chart the progression of Blake Corum and Kyron Williams, next year should be another bigger bite.
yeah, we'll see. Corum still finished 37 and Williams finished 9, so we'll go from running back 9 to all the way down there. You're projecting a big fall at a young age for Kyron.
Yeah.
And he just got paid on a pretty big money deal, so they don't have any incentive to go away from him. But we'll see. Him and Corum are the same age, actually. They're both 2000 babies, so they're both 25. So Corum probably doesn't see that second deal that Williams saw. All right, so that brings me to my number 13, and that is Saquon Barkley. He does fall out of the first round. He is the first pick of the second round for me, but that's where I got Saquon.
I have Drake London here.
Okay, I can see it. He's really good, and it's going to be very dependent on his quarterback play, though. If it's Penix, don't love him at 13. If it isn't Penix and it's better quarterback play, then perhaps. Penix tore his ACL. I'm not 100% certain he'll be ready for week 1, so that'll be an interesting situation once they release Kirk Cousins.
But they don't have much else at wide receiver, and I would have him higher if they had a better quarterback.
Yeah.
I think London's a really good player.
Absolutely, and we keep using the same exact argument with Darnell Mooney. They have no other wide receiver too. He has to be good.
Mooney got hurt though, I think. If I remember correctly.
I think you're right, but I'm just making the joke that we've been saying this for how long now? Since his Bears days.
I mean, before the last couple of years, like in the Bears days, I didn't think Mooney was that good with the Bears.
People raved about him.
I didn't think he was that good with the Bears.
I know. I didn't either, but it was hard not to hear what people were pounding the table on.
Yeah.
He finished a wide receiver 80, but he finished wide receiver 31 the year before that.
Yeah.
All right. So
My
who
number
is
12
your first round? Here we
is-
go.
My number 12 is the tight end. It's Brock Bowers, my tight end 1.
Man, the difference between tight end 1 and tight end 6 or 7 is usually so small. Like, I will
don't
never
think
be
so.
the guy. I'll never be the guy taking tight ends that early. But come on, you could get your guy, Jake Ferguson, a little bit later. Just a little bit later. But
Yeah, I think the difference between tight end 6 and like tight end 13 is super small. The difference between tight end 1 and 2 and the next tier is pretty big.
yeah, McBride did do the 252, and the tight end number 2 was 166 this year, and that was
Yeah.
Kyle Pitts Sr. But
Yeah.
once you hit tight end 2, all the way to like tight end 15, there was only like a 30-point difference. So when you could get a high-end receiver, because you did notate to me that wide receiver 2 kind of disappeared this year, and like they became a whole bunch of wide receiver 3s after the elite.
I typically don't take tight ends until late, and I typically don't take quarterbacks until late. and I'm usually right about that.
So would you take Bowers if you had the 12th pick in the draft right now? I have to
I
ask.
mean, I think he's going to obviously he's not really like Jackson Smith and Jigba, but he's going to be basically the Jackson Smith and Jigba of the Kubiak offense with a rookie quarterback. So, I mean, I think he's going to get peppered with the ball. He blocks as well, so he's going to be out there for as many plays as he can handle. I think they're going to be pretty scheme diverse, so he's going to get open, and they're going to catch the defense off guard a lot. So I really like Brock Bowers this year. I mean, I like him as an NFL player to begin with, but fantasy wise, he's the only one that I would consider in the first round. I mean, Trey McBride's pretty close, but no, I really like Brock Bowers this year.
Is his knee going to be 100% though? Like, is this
He's
something? Okay. I remember you telling me the same thing about TJ Hawkinson last year, and JJ McCarthy was going to pepper him with targets, and that offense looked horrendous.
yeah, JJ McCarthy was not that good of a prospect.
I don't think
Mendoza is at
Mendoza
least
is.
above him. I think Mendoza is like right around the Penix prospect level. Penix was a better prospect than he's been a pro.
We see how good Kyle Pitts has done with Penix in the game. It's interesting you picked him.
Yeah, I'm just saying they're not the same kind of quarterback. I'm just saying like talent wise.
Absolutely. All right. So I think it's time for my number 12. And that is going to be one Derrick Henry. And he has performed well enough to continue to stay into my first round. And he finished running back 7 last year. So I feel very confident that his workload won't change much going into this year.
The new offense.
Yep.
He's another year older. He's not on my top 24.
Well rested, though, because I didn't use him a ton last year. And he still finished running back 7.
It was very touchdown heavy, and I enjoyed the ride in the league I had him in. But I have him number 28 right behind Josh Jacobs.
All right. All right. Was that an RSO league?
Yeah, I had him in an RSL league. And no one would trade for him. I offered him so many times. No one wanted Henry, even with all the touchdowns he was putting up week by week.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I did trade for him in a league, in an RSO league. And speaking of RSO, I can't wait for their redefinition of fantasy dynasty football to come around. Speaking of those leagues, though, my number 11 player is a cornerstone player that I actually tried to trade in RSO league last year, and that is James Cook.
Yeah, we're a spot off because I have Jonathan Taylor here
Okay.
and I have James Cook at 10.
All right. That's a little low for Jonathan Taylor because he's going to be on the same offense as last year. And obviously, with Jones' dual threat, and assuming Jones is coming back, and that really helps Taylor out quite a bit. Unless you think DJ Giddens is going to get a little chunk of the apple.
I mean, Daniel Jones isn't the picture of health, and once he's out, team's game plan against a run. So
Riley Leonard, man. Throwing the deep ball to Alec Pierce against your Texans.
anyway, I mean, I'm giving him a first round spot.
That's good. That's good. And your number 10, you just said, but
James Cook.
no argument there. My number 10 is Devon Achan, and I believe that Slowick will continue his workload to keep him consistent. Hopefully, our top 9 here are at least the same players, but we'll find out here very shortly. What do you think about Achan being that high for me?
You like HN more than I do, but that's fine.
Absolutely. And I do know we'll have one player different because you've already hinted at that a little while ago. But my number 9 player is CD Lamb.
I also have CD Lamb at number 9, so we're the same there too.
You are just
Two
reading my
Texas
mind.
wide receivers right there. We got a Texan and a Cowboy.
Yep,
Exactly the same spot.
absolutely. Who is your number 8?
My number 8 is Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Okay, interesting. My number 8 is Jackson Smith Njigba. He's done it 1 year, and obviously the next few guys that I'm going to talk about have done it multiple years in a row here. And number 7 was your number 8, and that's Amon-Ra St. Brown.
My number 7 is Ashton Genty.
What? What has he done to get to number 7?
He had 1,300 yards on the worst team in the NFL, the worst offensive line in the NFL, and the most hit player behind the line of scrimmage out of any player in the league. And it literally is the lowest it could go, and he still got 13. So
I know you're
it
hanging
can
your
only go up.
hat on that. That's not always true because they could always add a effective second back that it turns into a 70-30 split.
If anything, that would make it better for him because he will stay healthy and fresh and be able to get those home run hits. So he'll be able to get those really deep runs, which will be nice. And with Kubiak, I think he'll actually get some passes thrown his way. For whatever reason, they barely passed to him last year, which drove me nuts. So
Absolutely. We will see. Hopefully he's working on his pass blocking because that was one of the reasons why Carroll took him out on passing plays because he didn't trust him in the pass blocking area. So that is really big for young running backs, and that's what determines how much that they play. So, but I do agree that he does take a step forward this year. I just don't know how much of a step forward.
I have Jackson Smith and Jigba at 6.
Makes sense. Makes sense because he's only done it 1 year, so make him earn his way into the top 3.
And he has yet another offensive coordinator.
Same with Sam
I
though.
think it's I think it's how many years has he been in the league? Has he been in 3? This will be his fourth year. So I think it's 4 different offensive coordinators.
I think his quarterback's averaging 1 a year too. Nothing constant but change, and that's where I always harp on you that offensive minded coach is so important because to keep that scheme and that play calling the same is just so important. All right, so that was your 6. My number 6 is Jamar Chase, and my number 5 is Puka Nakua.
My number 5 is Jamar Chase.
Okay.
My number 4 is Christian McCaffrey.
Okay. I know you're hedging a little bit on the injuries history there. Because I think he was like the number 1 scorer in all of fantasy last year. Pretty close.
Yeah.
Number 1 running back.
But great usage means the next year he's gonna fall flat.
Little downturn.
Potentially.
Little downturn. So 365 is what he had, and Puka Nakua for receivers had 310. So he was the highest scoring back last year. We all know that Christian McCaffrey sacrificed something into that fountain of youth, and that's why the rest of the 49ers got hurt and Christian McCaffrey stayed healthy. The quarterback went out, all the receivers went out a few games, all the tight ends. Here we are, Christian McCaffrey, the sacrifice. All right. So that is your number 4. My number 4 is Jonathan Taylor. He's still quite young in the league and coming off one of his best seasons, and he was the rushing leader while his quarterback was upright. But he'll be entering his age 27 season, so he should still have some tread left on the tires, and it feels like he's been in the league a very long time. So I have faith. My number 3, though, is Jahmyr Gibbs, and the reason why I have Gibbs here is he's never taken a full workload, and we assume that they're going to be moving off David Montgomery this year. So we will see what that means for Gibbs and his workload moving forward.
I have Puka Nakua at 3. And I have Jahmyr Gibbs at number 2. For the reasons you just mentioned.
Right, and I'm assuming our number 1's the line, and it's going to be Bijan for me. And
who's your number 2?
Oh, Christian McCaffrey, sorry. I just skipped over him.
That's where you're going with it, but yeah.
Yeah, I skipped over him. But yeah, I do believe in CMC this year, and I'll be in on him, but obviously injury history, so we'll see. Hopefully I don't get that number 2 pick.
I have a feeling Christian McCaffrey is going to start dropping on my board as we get closer to the season. But it's not because I don't like him, it's because I'll get increasingly worried about his potential injury status.
Yeah. I am wondering though, because he has to be entering pretty close to the end of his deal. And that could be a good thing for both McCaffrey and the 49ers. He's actually got 2 years left on his deal. His cap hit this year is 10 million, so they have no reason to save tread on the tires for him. I think at some point we should have a conversation if Christian McCaffrey is a Hall of Famer or not.
I think he is.
Yeah, it's so weird to think of a guy with not a ton of team success going into the Hall of Fame at running back, but he's compiled a lot of numbers receiving and rushing that I don't think a lot of running backs have.
I mean, you can make the case he probably should have won MVP this year.
Yeah, I would agree. I would have had a hard time moving Stafford and even May and Allen out of the way for him, but
But I mean, with Jackson Smith and Jigba, as awesome as his season was, they still had a top two defense in the league, and they still had Sam Darnold playing decently. They still had Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet. So I mean, they had a lot of reasons why they won. And Stafford had, Adams and Puka and Kyron and Corum and a really good front seven on his defense. I mean, what did the Niners have? Like they had everyone get hurt at some point. Their defense, they half their starters got hurt, the other half from the previous year left in free agency, and they still made the playoffs. They still got a playoff win, and Christian McCaffrey was healthy the entire time and was the majority of their offense. I mean, who else is as valuable to their team as Christian McCaffrey was to the 49ers last year? They should not have been in the playoffs based off of everything that happened to them. And
yep,
he had a great year even with all of those factors.
agreed. Couple things I will say is you were touting Genty's 1,300 yards. McCaffrey had 2,100 combined yards, with 17 touchdowns, and he was 76 yards away from his second ever 1,000 season. So he has not done that since he was age 23, he is now 29. He turned back the clock to 23 with whatever procedure he got.
Experimental German procedure that we don't exactly know what it was, but everyone's pretty sure it's probably stem cell related. That's illegal here, but legal over there.
Fountain of Youth. He found it. But I was just trying to look if they had him on the Hall of Fame meter. He is not. He's 39 among running backs right now, so he is not quite there yet. So he needs like one or two more good seasons to be considered. But I don't know how the receiving factors into that.
Yeah, I doubt that they have it plugged in.
So you remember how the Panthers traded McCaffrey to the 49ers for multiple picks? I think like 4 picks.
I think it's more than that.
It turned into, because they traded the pick away, the first one away, it turned into Brenton Strange, which ended up on the Jacksonville Jaguars. The next pick turned into Darnell Washington that they traded away. The next pick, I don't really know who they got, but the last pick turned into Tyrone Tracy that was traded away also. They were wheeling and dealing at that point.
Yeah, when those three guys that you named are good players that are not on the Panthers.
Absolutely. They traded the picks to the teams that picked those players. Yep. They all have their place, even Tyrone Tracy. They're all rosterable, 53.
Not only that, I mean, that's 2.5 starters. I count Tracy as a co-starter as a running back. The other two are pretty good tight ends, in my opinion.
Don't mess with Scadaboo. Speaking of, spoiler alert, I have Scadaboo as a 3rd-round pick this year.
Interesting. You're not worried about him getting concussions?
I mean, I'm worried about anyone getting concussion. That wasn't his issue this year. His issue was his leg turning sideways.
Yeah, there's that too.
But I have him one spot ahead of Brees right now. One spot ahead of Brees Hall.
Yeah, we're gonna have to find out what happens with Brees to figure out a value. But this is why we just do this early to kind of gauge what we think of guys right now in this moment before any of the offseason stuff really happens.
Absolutely. You say we do it early, but I say we do it never too early.
That's right. And then on that note, that does it for this episode of the Never Too Early Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you all for downloading and listening to this episode. And please don't forget to like and subscribe. Please leave us a comment and share the show. Every little bit helps.
You can find us on all podcasting apps by searching N2 Fantasy and with our handle at N2E Fantasy on all social media apps. Please join our community and give us a follow. Until next time, take care of yourself and remember, it's truly never too early for fantasy football. Thank you again.
Bye, everybody.